Hello, Jennifer. Welcome to the Make Life Rich Movement podcast. Thank you so much for coming on.
This is my first podcast that
Oh,
I you're my first. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed listening to everything you've done. So I'm excited that you asked me to come on.
thank you so much. Everyone, you're in for quite a treat today, especially if you are an animal owner or an animal lover. Jennifer, I came across your Instagram account a number of months ago and was just so drawn to your practice and what you offer in your energy therapy. And just, I knew I had to speak to you. I was just so excited to learn more about your practice and what you're offering within your business and, the ways in which we can all help our little furry or not so furry friends with transferring some energy. So thank you so much for existing as a business owner.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's kind of an unusual business, but sometimes I think it found me, and I didn't really have a choice. So here I am.
Oh, I love that so much. And honestly, that seems to be the way that most fulfilled and successful business owners come to find what it is that they end up doing. And before we started recording, you did say that this was your soul business, your SOUL business, which I identify with very deeply. So I know we're going to have a good conversation. Very excited.
Me too. Me too.
So let's discuss a little bit about what exactly it is that you are offering as a modality for therapy between yourself and the different animals that you treat. I know that you utilize gentle touch to help to restore the balance between an animal's physical and emotional well-being, and that consequently enough, it's something that you can help other people to be able to learn to do to their own pets. So, could you give us a bit of a breakdown on exactly what it is that you do and how exactly it works?
Yeah, so some people say it's very complicated, and some people say it's very simple. It's actually both. It's both. So Jin Shin Jyutsu, which it's the hardest thing to pronounce for people, but I always say it's the best thing you never heard of. It actually comes from Japan, but it's innate to all of us. It's a natural tendency. We all do this. And so it's very light touch on the body using our fingertips or our hands. We can talk about the differences between other energy practices, but we in general use our hands to spark the energy system of another being, or actually we can do it for ourselves. Put our hands behind our heads on a hammock, suck our thumbs when we're an infant. We do these all. We do all these things just so naturally. And we think of our hands as being a jumper cable, almost like we just transfer a spark that starts the energy of another being or ourselves moving. And because we think that this body has this, energetic system similar to what the acupuncturists think, acupuncture, acupressure, all of those, the meridians, the freeways of energy, circulation pattern, just like, our blood system, our lymph system. This is another system, but we spark that, and then the body has this natural ability for homeostasis, putting itself back into balance. So we don't send energy, push or pull energy. These are some other energy practices, but we just spark it with our hands. So it's comfortable, comforting. And we also think of it working on these different levels: mental, emotional, physical, possibly spiritual. Unique to every being. The outcome is always unique, and it's not cookie cutter. We have different placements that we can use our hands. Now, I still work on humans. Usually with them, I do step by step by step what we call flows, moving my hands to positions one to another. On animals, we tend to just find a couple and stay there. And so where are we putting our hands? Instead of the 300 plus placements of acupuncture that they call points, we are using 26 pairs of energetic centers on the body. So 52 total, right side, left side. And they're places that we generally tend to touch. Like, have you ever put your hand on your cheek when you're, thinking, or putting your hands behind your head in a hammock when you're lying in a hammock or looking up at the stars, giving yourself a big hug. So we naturally do and use these things. We are touching into these energy centers to spark the system and bring ourselves into balance. Like, who knew, right?
It's so beautiful.
So it's like when we come onto the planet, we have all of this within us. And you even see babies sucking their thumbs and putting their hands on themselves, or little twins holding each other. We are doing it naturally. So I always think, what if we just kind of had gotten the learner's manual? Where would we be? So we do this with humans. Sessions are about an hour. They take their shoes off, they lie on my padded massage table, and I apply this light touch, no pressure, no rubbing, over clothing. On animals, it's a little different in that we start with them where they are, standing in the stall, out in the field, cuddled up on their bed, on their leash if we're out and about and we suddenly have a need. And we just light touch in certain placements. They each have a meaning and a use, physically and emotionally. So if we can just learn a couple of these, we can make a huge difference for our pets. I can keep going if you want to.
Oh man, this sounds like something that we are innately very aware of and have lost knowledge about, which I always love someone kind of reverting back to our ancestral basics of trying to heal ourselves. I think we've gotten very far away from that, and it's led to a bit of disarray in our everyday lives and the way the world works. So thank you so much for your work and for helping people to tap back into recognizing how much control they can have over their well-being as well as their pets, which I know will bring a great number of people a lot of consolation for the fact that, not all is lost with an anxious pet, maybe a dog or, a reactive horse. I have a ton of friends I remember that growing up, they were very reactive horses. Maybe they had some trauma and just kind of, the agony of not being able to really calm them down and get them to a place to where they feel safe and comfortable again. So, wow, your work is beautiful, and I'm so excited to just dive right into this conversation. It's going to be so fun.
It does get so exciting. And so many of us and so many of our pets, and I don't care if they've, certainly rescue shelters, big weather events and things that cause trauma for our pets. It doesn't matter if they're purebred or they've come from a shelter. So many animals come to us with some trauma background. And it can be as simple as a purebred dog who maybe was the runt of the litter, or somehow got left out in the rain. If we didn't attend to the trauma that had taken place, that's just energy, and it gets stuck in the body. But we've got this toolkit. It's our hands. Same with those horses that you just described. Sarah, so many horses, we're not the one who bred them, raised them, and oftentimes they've come through different hands. They may have been mishandled, or they just might have had a difficult event like trailering or something that happened at a show or on a trail ride, all these things. But if we can use these simple light touch holds, I can come to your farm or I can come to your home and treat pets and horses, but I'm not everywhere. So it's been my mission to teach people that they have this ability, and that just by learning a couple of simple things, they can make a huge difference in how their animal friend feels, and that deep connection. And I think all of us with our pets and our horses, our animal companions, that's what we're really looking for, right? We want connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. How did you Man, I can feel your compassion and your empathy oozing even through this technological meeting of ours. But where and when did this compassionate side of you just come out to where you're like, okay, I have to make it my mission to help others, whether it's people or animals. I'm sure you have a beautiful origin story there because your soul is so bright and just so comforting. So could you just give us a little bit of background on what your caregiving may have looked like in your life?
Absolutely. I think I've always been somebody who really cares deeply about others, animals and humans. But this practice really found me. So I like to tell people that because people will say, "Oh, you're such a healer." I'm actually not. We all have that ability, but I think a lot of people find Jin Shin Jyutsu, which translates to the creator's art through the person of knowing and compassion. It found me because I had a family member who was experiencing cancer, breast cancer. She's doing great. That was many years ago, 2003. So she was in California. California kind of does things a little differently, right? And they were a little more cutting edge on integrative care. So at her oncologist at UCSF, they had the ability while you were receiving treatment, and she had had surgery and was undergoing some chemo, that she could try acupuncture or this art, Jin Shin Jyutsu, as a free service with part of their care. How great is that? So I didn't know anything about this. I'm a healthy eater, vegetarian, yoga, all the things, meditation, but I hadn't heard of this. So I'm here in Kentucky. She's in California. And I would get phone calls from people saying, wow, I took her for her session, and when she came out, she looked completely different. And she would report, like, I have better appetite. I don't feel so nauseated. I've got energy. I want to go walking. And she's an avid hiker. All those quality of life issues. It was helping her make it through this treatment. So she did it all through her treatment. And then when I go out and visit her, I treat her too, just because why wouldn't I? So that opened the door. But at the same time, I was a caregiver. So I was on that side of the cancer journey. And I was helping another family member who was experiencing lung cancer and had been far along. So there was some metastasis to the brain. So we were going back and forth to Sloan Kettering, more on your side of the coast, because we weren't able to get quite the treatment she needed here. Yeah. And she actually was getting ready to have a second brain surgery. So, that's pretty big, right? And it was a spiritual journey with the two of us. And I just had this feeling that something else had to happen. We were doing conventional treatment. It had been helping, but there were still, things were still going sideways. And all of those side effects of treatment, were managing symptoms of treatment, plus the stress and anxiety of treatment. And at the time, it wasn't something that people talked about a lot. They do now, right? But not so much then. So I thought, I wonder if that thing that I can't pronounce and I'm not sure I can spell right is available here in Kentucky. So I just said a prayer. I got on Google. I spelled it as best I could and wrote Jin Shin Jyutsu Kentucky and just said, please, 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 I hope there's someone here. Now, if you Google this now, you're going to find thousands, hundreds of thousands of pages of this thing you never heard of. Back then, I found a spreadsheet. I'm crazy, right? Popped up, had this woman's name in Louisville and a phone number, and so I called her. And we're still friends. She's my practitioner, and my family member agreed to go see her because we both had this knowing. We found out later on that she wasn't going to make it through the next surgery if something else didn't happen. So I sat in that room. I watched her get this light touch session lying on a massage table. It made me really dozy because I was stressed too. And she experienced what my other family member had experienced. She got off the table and she looked happy. She had vitality. We went and grabbed a bite to eat. She was who she really was, that had been covered by all the treatment and all the concern and by the trauma, because cancer is traumatic. That moment where you get that life changes for you and for everybody who's around you. So we started going back. She kept going. We did the surgery. Everything went well. And it was really life-changing. But it doesn't, I don't say that Jin Shin Jyutsu cures cancer. I've had some pretty amazing things happen for people and for animals, but it really helped her quality of life. But she did have some head pain. So the practitioner taught me one thing to do. And that was and she was in hospice care at that point. She had decided not to seek further treatment. They gave her a very tiny window of time, which was very wrong. As she said to them, darlings, that simply doesn't apply to me. And walked out. Yeah, she was kind of a Hollywood actress. And so I just kind of went, guess we're leaving. And we just pursued some palliative care. And so she would go for these sessions. And the only thing that I was taught to do was if her head pain started hurting her, and she was on some meds for this head pain, I would hold her big toes. So she'd lie on the couch. I would just clamp my fingers like a jumper cable. And I was able to help the pain dissipate faster than a pain med could hit it. It would just take a couple of minutes, and she'd say, that's enough, that's enough, that's enough. I wasn't doing anything but kind of putting my fingers going, I wonder what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And the head pain was able to disappear until the day before she died. So it was so powerful, the whole journey. And there's a whole big story about what happened then with all of that, but we're not going to go deep into that today. But after she passed away, just little things started happening. Somebody would, fall down at my daughter's soccer game. For some reason, I would get this hit, like, you need to go out there. So I just do what I hear, and I put my hands on the person down at their feet, which helps the energy come through, just like with my family member. And they would get up. Happened 2 or 3 times. And finally, I just said, okay, universe, I get the message. I'm going to go take a class. So that's how it started. I just listened to that hit. Again, even still with that, I realized, and I still realize, that I don't have any special power within me or in my hands that you don't have, that everyone else doesn't have. I just happen to learn where to put my hands on people, and we listen to pulses like traditional Chinese medicine. That tells me not what's wrong with you, but tells me what's that body doing? What's that homeostasis? What's happening? And we start there. And then it's like a dance, where we're going, how things are progressing, because it's guided by the person on the table or the dog, cat, horse, or elephant, rhino, wildcat, who knows. I've even done this with a honeybee, so still haven't done it with an elephant. That's a future goal. So
I love it.
Yeah, so that's how it all started. I just followed it. And I took courses for about 5 years, 2003 to 2005. And then I could have started to practice, but I waited, had small kids and starting that. But I opened a little office in 2008 and started working with people. So before that, it was like friends and family. The pet thing came a little bit later. I got interested in that because I had a dog who was aging, And I just started fiddling with it. And the woman, Adele Leese, who kind of transferred this knowledge to the animal world, she took the self-care concepts of touching on your own body because they're simple and transferred that to this animal work. So I started using that for my dog, and it was powerful. But so that came a little later. But before that, I started just volunteering, hospice, and then I started at a cancer center here, the Markey Cancer Center at the University of Kentucky, just treating people chairside for chemotherapy, kind of in a way to give back for my mother. It was my mother-in-law, her good care, though she wasn't treated there. But the patients started reporting they were feeling better, and the common denominator was this work. So they invited me in, we started a program, and I was there for 10 years.
Ooh, man.
Yeah.
Jennifer, thank you so much for even following your heart of what sounds like a very divinely led business. It's turned into a business, but it sounds
Yes.
like it started out like just paying back or paying forward rather the kindness that you had seen kind of bestowed upon your family members.
Yes.
As someone who also was a caregiver, my father had neck cancer. He was given 30 days to live at diagnosis and lived 20 years and 4 months. And he was just, yeah, very intense.
Wow. Yeah.
He was a very driven individual. And at the time, there was literally nothing like this, even a glimmer in anyone's eye. I think outside of like maybe Deepak Chopra, he might have been the only one to really put any kind of effort outside of medicine in terms of like entertaining the idea of energies and what you can do with visualization and just kind of aiding yourself. But I absolutely am so thankful that you were a part of this modality and practice becoming something that so many people could experience. And I'm sure it created a lasting impact in the hospital that will continue to just, as you said, extend the life quality of those who are suffering, which is going to trickle down through the whole family. So thank you so much for
Right.
that. It would have meant the world to my father and my family for him to have had this sort of care.
Yeah.
And I'm just so thankful that you exist and are able to share this with those who so desperately need it. It's really beautiful work.
Oh,
Very
I love hearing you say that, and thank you, because it's, it's tough. It's tough being in that environment, but it is probably one of the most incredible things that I've been able to do. Working not only with the people who were experiencing the cancer journey. I don't like to say have cancer, sounds like you want to keep it. I'm very
yes.
careful in selecting my words because words have energy. But also, just from the standpoint of that, what we have in common is we've both been caregivers. I was very attuned to what was going on with the emotional aspects of the people who are giving care and realizing that this this project, I call them all projects, this cancer project is a family project and it affects everyone. And when things seemed to go the best was when everyone was involved. Lots of different things were being learned about, growth was happening. I still work with people in that world as well. So that was helpful. And then it really helped my animal work too, because I not only was working in collaboration with physicians, I am not a medical person. I have some family members who are, but I wasn't. Sure wish I'd, had that Grey's Anatomy knowledge within me. But the work was, I read a lot of medical records. I collaborated with a lot of physicians and surgeons and things, so I learned a lot. And then the work expanded beyond the cancer center to all the different aspects of the hospital. So from infants, the NICU for pain management, transplant, heart, emergency care, in the ER, There was one other practitioner and I, my dear friend Karen DiGirolamo, who also taught yoga. We worked together within the hospital and in the actual hospital setting, but also post-op and all these things. And what I realized when I left there and I started delving deeper into the animal world, all that information, it doesn't matter if you're a being, whether you're a human, you're an animal, you're a bird, you're an insect, this system is the same. So what I learned about, newborn infants, I use that for puppies, and for children. I use that for young animals. And one of the things I think that is a little bit different is about that kind of communication connection with the animals. They tend to let go of things a little faster than humans do. And of course, I always say they didn't read the brochure, so their experience is unique to them. But we as humans, sometimes we have a more difficult time of letting go. And sometimes I wonder, why is it that I'll have someone who has a similar issue going on? One dramatically shifts and the other one not so much. And what I've come to believe, it's really about our life path. It's about our soul's purpose, what we're prepared for, what we're ready for. Did I do something wrong? No. Everything is okay. Everybody's where they're at. And it's just this journey. So whenever an animal or a human comes into my practice with me, the first thing I think is, I wonder what we're going to do together.
That's such a great place to start. And I love that you are pretty intrinsically intertwined into that healing journey. And it makes me wonder, with this shifting of energy that you're like aiding them in releasing, do you feel and or take on this energy yourself as the healer? Is there something that you need to do for yourself to, in essence, clean your clocks of all this energy you're accumulating from all of these sessions?
Right. And, we don't think of ourselves, because we're not using our energy to shift and make the changes. We don't get tired. So from that, because some people talk about, using so much energy, you must be depleted and tired. That doesn't happen. If it's almost like a meditation. If I'm working with someone and my hands are placed, I can feel the energy in my fingertips. It's got a texture, it's got a rhythm, it's got all of that. I'm listening to them and I am merely the spark, or I like to call myself, in the 70s, how you would walk along a shag carpet and then you'd touch someone. So where did that energy come from? Well, it was that energy built up from the carpet that came through me, right, to my fingertip. Well, I don't know where the shag carpet is in the universe, but it's like that energy is coming through me and it's not mine. So that's one thing. Now I do things to help myself feel relaxed after sometimes, because, sometimes I might be with a horse having my hands sort of up in the air for hours at a time, depending on where I'm working, if I'm doing a number of animals at a stable. So, I want to keep my body in shape. And then thinking about the emotional part. Some people talk about that they're very empathetic and they're feeling all of that. So, yeah, sometimes I get some feeling of that. I certainly have an awareness in some sort of way of what's happening. I can feel like, wow, something big, feels like a sadness is coming up with an animal or a human, and I just ask them to exhale. But I don't attach. So I'm not taking that within me, because for me that feels Egoic isn't the right word because I don't think people purposely do that. They have a lot of deep caring. But I was in a class one day and somebody was asking this teacher who had come from a school called the the Nine something mystery school. It's in the West. So she had come and she was teaching a class, and someone asked her about how do you keep having this energy that's coming out, how do you not have it bring you down, blah, 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 when people have so many troubles. And she said, well, one day when you're really clear, it'll basically pass through you like the wind. So that's how I think of it. I always tell people so I've seen horses cry, but they don't ask for a Kleenex. It just comes out. And then I just noticed that's a certain energy moving through, because everything that's ever happened to you or any being, it's stored in the body down to the cellular system. And so animals and humans who've had trauma, that's that triggering. We go back there, we go back there, we go back there. It hasn't been resolved. It's still within the body, and the body is, its job is to hold us here, keep us on the planet, and when we're ready, help us move that through so that then the experience becomes a gift, something we can share, something we can use to help another person. But sometimes, wow, it's just too much. So when people do have emotional releases, sometimes they're anger, sometimes they're sadness. I always tell people if they cry, if it's the first time, I said, now listen, if you get really emotional and you cry, that's great, no problem. But I won't give you a Kleenex until your ears fill up, because it's the way the body releases, right? So, and to me, giving a Kleenex says, that's too much for me. I don't want to take that on. And to me, I'm like, wow, this is great. So it's wonderful people feel a release. So does that answer that question of kind of how I think of that?
For sure. And I love so much that you welcome and almost, want them, humans and animals, to have the response to where you do feel that wave exiting. And it's great to know that you're not suffering or weighing yourself down in any manner energetically or emotionally to do this, because the more people you can help with no side effects for yourself it sounds like a dream.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful. I'm in, the more we speak and the more you answer, I'm just, it's just, like you said, it's the greatest thing no one's ever heard of, and I understand. I
Aren't
understand
I
why.
lucky that I stumbled on
Blessed.
this? And so many people on Instagram who contact me, and I've got people all over the world contacting me. It's so much fun. And they say similar to what you said. Maybe they have something going on and they just stumbled across me. We all kind of stumble across this. It's just amazing. And it's become
Yeah.
such a gift in my life. And I wanted to say one thing, because sometimes people are having, and animals are having, very difficult diagnosis or end of life care or injuries. It's not that I'm not emotional. I'm human. It does, it can make me feel sad if I've been helping an animal through end of life. I recently had a giant poodle here in the Lexington area who I helped with transition with the family, and a really great vet who comes to the home. And it was very emotional, and I miss her. But that's different than taking on someone else's. And same when I was at the cancer center working with people, there was, a feeling of, wow, people are going through so much. So to me, that instead of, I didn't have pity, I didn't feel quote unquote sorry for them. I just acknowledged the depth of the experience they were going through for,
Yeah.
for whatever learning growth reason. I don't know how to even put it all together, but it's a mystery I don't know the answer to.
Yeah. I can understand that. I do think there is probably a lot of perspective that you gain from these moments that are very difficult, and even in the moments of joy, to be able to really just hone in on, the fact that this is your livelihood, and it is something that I'm sure has brought great purpose to your life.
Yeah.
And I think most entrepreneurs chase for that, and they hope for that, and they want for that, and it's um it's an honor to speak to someone that is their reality, because that's everyone's dream, is to be making an impact while truly feeling um, the purpose of it all. I
Mhm.
think it's just so impressive and exciting because, as you said, there are thousands of practitioners now doing this, and this is something that, if you find yourself being very drawn to wanting to help and wanting to heal, this may be a method or modality that, you may want to entertain. Um, I would love to know how exactly you created your business around this practice. I I love and very much respect when someone is able to take something so meaningful and important as your service and the modality that you utilize to build a business around. But I would love to know a bit of the journey on the business side of things with how you got to bring this all together so that this could become, something that is also providing you livelihood, but still giving you this outlet for purpose.
Mm. That's such a great question because it is a business. Have to pay my bills just like everybody else. And there is this thing with people who do different types of work that are more healing in nature. Now, we don't think of this with doctors that they're not going to charge anyone. But for some reason, with people who are doing things that are more integrative, complementary, however you want to talk it, a little bit off of what would be the traditional path, there's been this feeling that, or reticence to charge people for it. So, and you also need to help people find you. So I have worked really hard at it. It is a business and it takes a lot to get things going. So I have some history of background in business, and I was telling you a little bit about it. And of course, it's going to date me, but that's okay. Back in the 80s, I ran Tiffany and Company's Pearl division for them in Manhattan. So that was okay. That was not back in the day. I got my first computer at work, but it was nothing like what we have here. It was more like spreadsheets, things like that. But I was determined to delve into it and understand how it worked and how it could help what I was doing for them. And then we also had a catalog. It was right during the time when these catalogs were starting to go out, and Tiffany and Company was doing their own, so there was a lot of marketing. And I really dove straight into that. I did everything in this business, along with a couple of people they gave me. So it was up to me to start to figure out, what do people want? How can we make this work? How do I work with the branch stores? How do I communicate with people? How do I work with my clients? Because I would one-on-one see some of these clients who wanted these specialty items. So all of that. Plus, I was a design major in college back in California, UC Davis. But I didn't have business. But that design aspect you can see in my Instagram kind of comes from that. And then just this information that I learned along the way. So through the years, I've had a number of businesses. I'm an avid master gardener. I had a gardening business. I did window boxes for the sales companies here during what we call the September sales, fall sales. They beautify the stable areas, and so I had a business doing that because our family was in the thoroughbred business, so that was a natural. I did that. I did private jewelry sales, so then I had to learn how to do that, travel, communicate, talk, connect. it's all about connection, right? So then raised my kids and doing these little side gigs. And then I fell into Jin Shin Jyutsu and opened a practice. And then I had to figure out, well, how am I going to get people to understand this thing they have never heard of? So I would do simple things like give talks at the public library, just hand out things whenever I could. So that was really helpful. And, then I started working at UK. And as I was working there, I worked with the website designers. And we were doing, when I first got there, because we had to hire me, they had gotten money from one of these incredible foundations here in town. I'm going to give them a shout out, Lexington Cancer Foundation. They gave the seed money to start my program. And part of that was I had to prove that this helps. So I did a little research, things like that. So that was helpful. And then when that happened, the research was really profound. I took that to an integrative conference in California, so I learned how to talk in front of people more. But the university decided to do a research video for this. And, I'm always one who, when I hear of an opportunity and I get a hit, I'm going to jump in, whether I know exactly what to do or not. This is how entrepreneurs learn, right? We have to jump out of our comfort zone quite often and learn where we can, learn from who we can. So here we are making a video. And, what came to me is, well, couldn't we interview some of the doctors? That wasn't their idea, but they went, oh yeah, I guess we could do that. And I convinced some of the doctors to just, give a little testimonial. They were glad to do it. We interviewed them, and couldn't we interview a couple of the patients? I had 5 patients who were all over it, so we interviewed them. They put together a video. When they finally took it down just a couple of years ago, it had over 650,000 views.
Wow.
All over the world. So I was like, okay, this working with the internet is a great way. So then I got another grant. So then the UK started paying me, and I thought, well, I want to do more of these videos so I can share what I know. So I convinced the Susan Komen Foundation, our local affiliate, to give us money to make more videos. And what we did is we made self-care videos related to side effects of cancer treatment, things you could do for your own body for stress and anxiety, maybe what a caregiver could do for you if you were for nausea, just simple things. So we made 14 of them. And I just talked to the guy who helped me make them the other day, because he's helping me again, because I'm jumping in again for the animals. And he said that those videos still are the most popular videos that he has ever made for the university. And the video that was the general research video was, at the time, was the #1 video that they had ever had at the university. In second, I was number 3. Number 1 was a UK basketball video. So, go Wildcats. Everybody seems to know Kentucky for basketball. And there was one other that was a rapper video for one of the football players. So it was pretty darn good. I took that as a win. Wow. So I learned about that end, of course. And then during COVID, everything shut down. I couldn't do my practice because it was in person. And that was when I really shifted to the animal work. I had just become a certified instructor for Jin Shin Jyutsu for your animal companions. And I just started making videos at my house, just practicing. I was posting them on YouTube for fun because we had a lot of time on our hands, right? Yeah. So what a time. And I had a microphone, kind of like yours, that I was recording things in a closet, all these ways. But that got me up to speed. And at the same time, I had a young woman who I had met, and I thought, I've got to revise my website. So she helped me do that. And that was when we kind of branded it. I have certain colors I use, I have a certain font I use. But it had to feel like me. So we had that luxury of that time to get that work done. And then I also took a course on how to make an online course and learned that because I thought, if my goal is to share it with people, not only to have it where I can work on you, I can help your horses and I can help your dogs and cats and other animal friends. I want people to really know that they have this ability too. And yes, maybe they are not going to want to go as deep and become a practitioner, but maybe they just want to know a few things for animal stress. And of course, everybody during COVID was getting dogs, right? So we have lots and lots of dogs and, cats being taken from the adoption centers. What a wonderful thing. And then, so I've got all this going and I'm practicing these courses. And, my goal was always thinking, I'm here in Kentucky. I'm going to be with all the horses, race horses, eventing horses, hunter jumpers, pleasure horses. This was the direction I thought I was going. And I still do that. But all of a sudden, I had posted this little video on Instagram of one of the dogs that I work with. It was just a little video, and I put my fingers right in the back of its knee. Honestly, I'll be honest with you, I think it looked, somebody thought I was probably grabbing this dog's crotch. That's very exciting for Instagram. But if that's what works, so be it. And right now that has had like over 6 million views. So, yeah. And so that, I call it the 6-second goldfish video. But it spurred a whole lot of conversation and messaging, and I made it a goal. Wow, if this is the venue, that's okay. I was making more, people are learning, and I just commented and returned information, and I made this little freebie for people about how to calm pet anxiety, just one little step, one little hold that you can use. And people started reporting back, wow, that helped. And they also reported back that on the goldfish video, holding the back of the leg, which I was doing for itchy skin, also relaxed their animal. So all these conversations are going on. And that's how everything just really kind of spread. But I gave a lot of value, and I still do. People, mentor with me at a distance from all over the world. I still have people I see here, and I do, I have a subscription group, and we do things. But I really am my number one goal is just sharing this. You can do this. I'm not special. And when people realize, wow, I can do it, I just get so excited. So that's kind of a long range of yours, but it covers a lot of different things of learning, picking up knowledge as you go, and being willing to get out of your box to try things that you're uncomfortable with. And of course, with Instagram, it's all about repetition, being there every day, connecting with people, having your branding look like you, and having it such that people are really looking forward to seeing what you're doing. So I really try to do that. And some of my stuff is funny, some of it's serious, but that's how I've done it. And I'm continuing to read. I'm continuing to learn, try new things.
I would love to pull a few nuggets out that you gave us. First of all, you were always acting from a place of let's try it, like what could it hurt to give it a go? And I would often have to coach or help my clients with just giving into the fact of, well, let's give it a try. What could it hurt? You're taking educated guesses, of course, but in you taking that chance, it did lead to just what feels like a snowball effect of you still being in a place to where you're, almost A/B testing, and it seems like A is continually working for you, which to me feels like you're in the flow of your purpose and your passion kind of aligning and creating this really beautiful platform that you are now able to help so many people with. And I have no doubt in my mind that your efforts and your impact will spread far and wide globally, because there are so many people that are so desperate to help themselves or a family member or a pet. And, often I think it takes trying everything before you get to the one thing that really works. And it feels like this modality is absolutely one of those things that couldn't hurt to try. You're going to give it a go and you're going to feel the relief. You're going to see the results. And then from then on, it's almost emboldening the trust that they can build with themselves, with their pet, or with someone they're caregiving for, with themselves, to be able to continue taking these chances that ultimately will hopefully just keep leading them in a positive direction like it has done for you.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I really think that we shouldn't play small. You know, and taking a chance and following that. So we've got this spot on our wrist. Okay, there's this little bump on your wrist. My grandmother, when I was a little kid, she'd go, "Oh, honey, that's your intuition bone." Well, I didn't know what that meant, but in Jin Shin Jyutsu, literally, it is. This location is about your intuition, trusting that information that comes through as a business owner. Like, that book, that hits me. Maybe I'm going to read that podcast. Oh, I liked that. Somebody just said that name. I'm going to look it up. These are the things that have really helped me. And of course, there have been some strategists I've talked to who've been very helpful. At first, like on my Instagram account, which is where the majority of my people are coming from right now, I wanted to be everything to everyone. I wanted to talk about cancer. I wanted to talk about babies. I wanted to talk about horses. It was very jumbled. And what I realized is I kind of just had to pick a direction, even though I do lots of other things and people are learning about that too. And it was like the dog thing particularly sort of chose me because of that 6-second video. And what I realized is, oh my gosh, there's a whole world of anxious pets and this anxiety from trauma and being rescued and time in a shelter, changing ownership, maybe car accident, all these different things, or even an owner going back to work. This separation anxiety is a huge, huge issue, not just here in the US, all over the world. And I thought the universe is calling this up for me to serve these people. So I decided this is what I'm doing. So the online course I've made is all, I call it Alleviate Pet Anxiety and More, because the things that I teach do more than that. That's one thing they do, one aspect, just because this is what people are looking for. And as faculty members, traditionally, we have taught everything. Soup to nuts, beginning to end. It's 3 days, all day long. It's a lot. And there are people who love that. And there's actually 7 of us who are teaching, mostly in the US and Canada. Sometimes we'll be back on the road again. But not everybody wants that. They just want, give me 3 things I can do that might be helpful. And to me, that's the starting point. I'm like just cracking open the door, opening the window, but getting people to realize, again, for them, for their energetic self, not to play small. You can do this. Don't put it on me as she's the healer. How could I possibly? Oh my gosh, I fell so totally into this. I had no idea. So I want to empower people no matter what it is you're doing, whether you're going to try this or you're just thinking about starting a new business for yourself, or you're thinking about making a change of direction. Don't play small. You are so powerful. Your energy field is expansive. I do distance Jin Shin Jyutsu where I work on a model for a human or an animal. And again, just thinking about sparking the energy as opposed to sending it. I've done eventing and jumping horses in the, oh gosh, we've been all over, primarily in the Holland area for a big stable there, but also in New Jersey and all over, sometimes just in my town. So that just tells you this expansive ability. And we have it in everything we do because everything is energy, right? So I just want people to know that. So if from this interview, if that's the hit they get, like, wowee, I'm more powerful than I thought. It's not egoic. When you say, I'm more powerful than you, I'm going to beat you, that's one thing. And in business, I've also realized there's room for all of us, no matter what we do. This is a big planet. We are not always going to resonate with everyone in the same way. So we don't have to be competitive. We're going to find our people. They are going to align with us energetically. And I think that's been a big thing for me because I'm a can-do girl historically. I want to win. I want to be the best. I want to be first. That can be a little egoic. I've learned to drop that. There's room for us all. There's tons of people to be served.
Oh, so beautiful. Jennifer, this conversation has been so joyful. I've been holding back tears this whole time. You are such a
Oh,
sweet soul. I'm so thankful that you're doing this work for so many. I hope you give yourself the grace to just think about all the souls you've helped because that impact is so important, so needed, especially now. And I'm going to put all the links in the show notes about how people can work with you. You've got the freebie. Her Instagram, guys, is filled with so much information. Just take some time and scroll through it. You will not be sorry. Your course is launching October 2nd.
October 2nd. And I've got a little link if people are interested in downloading a couple of my freebies. I've got the two. One is about the pet anxiety. The other one is finger holds that you can use for yourself for strong emotions. And then there's a link if you want to join my wait list because I'm sharing a lot of information to my wait list about just, about trying some of these practices and some case studies of people I've worked with to give people confidence that, wow, these are regular people just like me who can do this work and just inspire people to just move through and do what feels right. So I hope, I'd love for people to do that. And I do an Instagram live every Wednesday morning at 9:00 a.m. Eastern time, where I talk with people, and people are starting to jump on from all over the world talking about different things with their animals, and we practice, and I share a lot of information. So it's
Thank you so
fun.
much for what you are sharing. Your gift is, like you said, one that anyone can get, but I'm so thankful that you are the one spreading this information because you were the woman for the job. You were the one meant to dispense this information. I always like to ask my guests as a final question, how do you make your life rich?
Oh my gosh, that's such a great question. I get so much out of being outdoors and in nature. So I get so much of my just fulfillment and energy in being out there and really almost communing with all of life that way. And I'm lucky I've got three fantastic kids who are nearby. They like to spend time with me, so we have a lot of
Oh.
fun together. I do gardening. Um, I kind of always just do the next best thing. And I am so interested in being connected with people and learning about their lives. That just fulfills me so much. too. So, and this is incredible. I was thinking as we were talking, you know, who would have thought that we would somehow get connected so we could have this conversation. I'm still kind of in awe about this because I never thought I was going to be on a podcast. I think it's great and I love what you do. And, you know, so the universe put us together. And
Yes.
it's just, you know, my kids always say I'm a little nutty, and I probably am. But, you know, if my life is enriched by magical thinking, so be it. I love it. I love thinking about everything through that lens.
That's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful way to live. Thank you
Thank
so much
you.
for this conversation. It was truly an honor. So beautiful. Thank you for your work. Uh, yeah, I'm just speechless. Thank you. This was so great.
Thank you.
And I'm so thankful I got to be your first interview. This was
Oh, it was
awesome. You did
awesome.
wonderfully.
And thank you for empowering women in
Oh,
business.
thank you.
We need
Thank you.
more of that. We need to empower and support each other. It needs to happen
Yes.
more. So I appreciate
Yes.
that you're doing that.
For
I
sure. Oh,
really do.
Jennifer, thank you. This was such a pleasure. Everyone, please check the show notes. Please sign up for her wait list. You will not be sorry. This is absolutely something you must integrate into your life for everyone around you and for yourself. Jennifer, thank you. The
Thank
pleasure was all
you.
mine.
Thank you. Thank you.